The lights go out, and for 2026 we're underway again, and it's a good getaway, at least initially, for Bijoy Garg, but he is going to be joined on his outside by Louis Rousset in the Forestier Racing by Panis car. The race start is under investigation. That's kind of a staple message from Eduardo Freitas, as now cars are off all over the place down at the gravel. That's the Algarve Pro Racing car needing to recover, but 1, 2, 3 cars with heavy damage and causing a chicane, and there are more off at the first corner, including the number 4 DKR Engineering car, which has arrived backwards at turn 1 and cleaned out 2 fellow LMP3s in the process. One of them is Paul Lancher,
it's a 17
in car 17 for CLX.
And the 68 from M Racing. 3 cars stationary in turn 2. I think one of them is the number 9 Proton car. I think it's the forward back car.
So at least 3 LMP2s have already been damaged. I have no idea how the DKR Engineering car was already backwards with anti-Ramo. Did he get a hit to provide that?
I don't think he did. Something very odd happened to that LMP3. There was a heavy hit on Jonas Reed. He was spinning and caught by another car. The safety car inevitably has been called here. 2 separate incidents. Well, here's the drone shot coming into turn 1. The LMP2, to call it action, started rather later, but there was a lock-up in the middle of the pack, triggered by the number 9 car, but who... yeah. And then hit very hard indeed, I think, by Crichton Lentudis. So 3 P2 cars involved in that. And looking again, I think it was the CLX car that had the major hit.
So do we get to see anti-Ramo from this angle? No, we don't. And in fact,
it's a red flag. I'm not surprised.
Now, but that won't stop the clock ticking down. So this will still count towards the race distance. But yeah, that was a full-on T-bone, and then he got hit again. The 47 car of Georgios Kolovos.
I just think he was braking and he was on the curb. I think that's what's happened with anti-Ramo. He's gone wide. He braked on the curb, and I could then see in the pack, by the way, there was a clash with the Corvette.
Who's this on board with? Could be Kolovos, actually. If we now T-bone, the number 9 car, bang.
That's a big hit.
And from Georgios's position, he just couldn't go anywhere anyway. I mean, it was all too late. To try and turn left or right, there were probably cars alongside him. This is PJ Hyatt's viewpoint, so how close was he to being involved with it?
I don't think there was contact. I don't think there was contact.
For the 9.
For the 9.
But I was amazed that PJ Hyatt avoided it, and probably the car behind just about squeaked through. This is what was going on in the LMP3 field.
This was...
So you've got the second of the Mercedes in front, not Al-Khalifi. Well, that's the benefit as well of a long red flag, is that all of the track has been tended to. Thank you so much for waiting for the period of time that was necessary, but clearly driver safety, driver situation is the priority, and then clearing the cars. Thankfully, we're not going to be denied any race time after an extra 25 minutes has been bolted on. So 3 hours and 50 minutes to go as the barge board underneath Bijoy Garg's seating position is whacking the road surface. Now it's side by side between 2 LMP2s that are getting their elbows out. That's the 2 EDEC Sport cars that are leaning on one another and did just about sort it out. Still, tyres are very, very cold. You can see how the cars are twitching through turns 2 and 3. And in LMP3, RHGP's Fabian Michel leads the way from Euro International's Matthew Richard Bell, but Louis Stern is right on Bell's tail. Then there's a recovering Francois Perrodo as down the inside of the first of the EDEC Sport cars has a long look, Ian Aguilera for CLX, but he decides to just sit and wait. This is the restart lap after all, with everything still very, very cold, and will take some time to get back into the window.
The LMP3 from Interpol pulls back out into traffic. That's given an opportunity here for the CLX car to get by the second of the EDEC Sport cars. Ian Aguilera makes it past Paul Lafargue.
From the back of the field, and it is monstering its way up the order. It will be not that long into the future when Rigon leads this race, I would say, because he's up against bronze racing drivers, and he's now into 4th place.
He is. There's a move on the 43 car. Now, is Cooper in some trouble here? That car did not look like it was up to full speed. Has he got a problem? So, through the field come. Davide Rigon is clearly pushing to the front of this field. That is the aim. He's already past. He's definitely past the 77.
So that was Kuba Śmiechowski running wide, and did he take entirely to the escape road? It looks like he was obeying the rules there.
I think he's got an issue. I think he may have an issue.
Okay.
With apologies, we can't tell you against timing, because our timing has frozen.
I can tell you he's dropped to 12th position, Śmiechowski, and that is not just him running wide.
This is Aguilera going by the other EDEC Sport car, so he's now picked up 2 places and a couple of laps. Ian Aguilera pushing on here. Side by side here with the 2nd place. Aston Martin makes that easy. Davide Rigon is going to be all over that AMG very quickly indeed, isn't he? So they have taken the opportunity. Choose attack.
100%. And, you know, they wouldn't have chosen to be in this position, clearly with the damage that needed to be repaired after free practice 2. This is how Davide got underneath Clément Matter at turn 13. And then the drag race out of the penultimate corner, throwing the car at turn 14, Rigon, and despite the tighter line, was able to get good speed out of that corner, down the long straight. And yes, that's real estate between Al Khalifi and Davide Rigon is going to be eaten up very quickly by the chasing Italian.
Battle here between the 25 and the 37, Algar Pro Racing and CLX Motorsports.
So 10 laps done for Inter-Europol competitions Bijoy Garg. He has a 2.7 second lead over the Forestier Racing by Panis Louis Rousset. Meanwhile, CLX Motorsport in their LMP2 car having a good little dice. So this is Ian Aguilera and Matthias Kaiser, and Aguilera down the inside at turn 5, got the position initially, and I reckon then held on to it as well. So that is Aguilera up to 4th place now. This is where the fun really starts, because the LMP2s are starting to catch the tail enders in GT, and with Louis Rousset going to the high side now of that GT Ferrari number 74 from Kessel. So that'll be Andrew Gilbert in for the opening stint in the 6th placed car. But the green and black LMP2 of Louis Rousset for Forestier Racing, he is having his move shadowed all the way by Griffin Peebles in 3rd place, and that United Autosports car over the line. Will this be a chance for Peebles to go down the inside? I think he's a bit too far back to be able to take advantage of that.
Frenetic pace at the front, all sorts of movements between cars in class and between classes. The 2 EDEC cars again doing battle with each other.
Jamie Chadwick, oh, she's almost joined alongside by Paul Lafargue, and in fact Lafargue now to the high side, but there's no way through because of Banksy's Porsche just up ahead, so he's surely going to have to get out of the throttle. They hit each other again. That's for the 2nd time in this stint, taking chunks out of one another once more. That'll be an interesting chat between Jamie and Paul when they both get out of their cars, but Chadwick keeps the place just about, and they're fanning out further behind as well.
2-3 wide there too. There's the recovering AF Corsa car, one of the Nielsen cars, and the Vector Sports number 10. Ryan Cullen, I think, started that car, didn't he?
Yes, he did. That's not a fair race, and there were definitely some spots of rain down at the first corner. Steph Wentworth confirming that to us in the pit lane, and I'm seeing that they are evident now on the cameras down at turn 1 as well. Maybe just some psychological rain, as Mike Jordan used to call it, not necessarily affecting the grip levels down at the track. There's the change in LMGT3. Rigon on the brakes a little later than Al Khalifi, and I don't think Al Khalifi wanted to fight that, to be honest, because there'll be plenty of bronze time for that 51 Ferrari later on.
He'll be getting instruction from the team, and they would have basically said, don't make it easy, but don't risk the car. And that's exactly what he's done. Look at the gap now to Clément Matter, though, because Al Khalifi has had an absolutely stellar start to this race.
He's been really impressive. behind, it's bunching up again between Giorgio Roda and PJ Hyatt. Hyatt's right with him, you know, so whereas there was a 0.9 of a second gap in qualifying yesterday, the American is certainly giving the Italian, oh so dominant in qualifying for the last number of seasons, it's not allowing him to have all his own way. As Bijoy Garg and Griffin Peebles, that gap starting to come down. So Peebles did get ahead of Louis Rousset, and we're looking at I was about to say 0.7 of a second gap, but it's actually now down to half a second. Bijoy Garg to second place Griffin Peebles, and they have checked out from Louis Rousset, who's much further down on the start-finish straight, and there they are side by side in LMP2 ProAm. Hyatt to the inside line, and out in the dust and the gravel is Giorgio Roda, but he's kept hold of the lead just about. That was coming through turn 13. PJ Hyatt looking far more comfortable in this opening segment of the race. He sounded very chilled when Steph Wentworth was talking to him, and again using the traffic, Davide Rigon's Ferrari, the new leader in LMGT3, was the fly in the ointment there, but could have done PJ Hyatt a massive favour. There again are the spots of rain on the camera lens at turn 1, but I can really only see them down on that camera itself, so very, very localised rain. And I can't imagine any teams will be thinking about any sort of tyre change. The difficult thing is there are no intermediates again this year. You're either on the slick tyre or the wet tyre. Two, though, to the pit lane, and they are the 50 Ferrari. Oh, drive-through penalties by the sounds of things. And if they were issued earlier on, I've instantly forgotten them. But Custodia Toledo and Amir Naran are those two cars in question. As here's the fight for the race lead again. Griffin Peebles, I had a feeling he might not be wasting too much time to try and take the race lead. And Bijoy Garg in the colours of Inter-Europol competition up against one of his former teams actually in United Autosports. Cars 29, 50, 63 and 77 all being given drive-through penalties for not respecting the starting procedures, so presumably being out of position at the start of the race, therefore.
So that will be the Forestier Racing by Panis car, 63. That is the Iron Lynx, that's the orange car, isn't it? 77 is the Banksy Porsche. I've completely forgotten the other one. 50.
Which has just come in, yeah. And they are comfortably clear of Ian Aguilera, although it is Aguilera for CLX now into third position. So having got ahead of Matthias Kaiser, and they overtook a handful of other cars as well prior to that point. So because they're to a certain degree squabbling amongst themselves, Garg and Peebles, that is allowing Aguilera to up the pace, and he's lapping faster now. He's catching them
last time around by, what, 1.5 seconds? Better than that, indeed. The gap is under 4 seconds. This is going to be a 3-car battle, I think, within the next couple of laps. Clement Mathieu being tracked by Kozjewski in the 75 Proton car. Team manager car 29 is being requested at the race director's office. That is the Forestier Racing by Panis, Louis Rousset, currently at the tail of the LMP2 field in that car.
He's totally dropped off, and I don't really understand why. He must have had a slight mistake somewhere, as now, speaking of which, Banksy runs a bit deep into turn 5 in the number 77 Porsche.
So it retains the position. I think he'd had a crack but overdid it on Michael Birch. That didn't work, but these two having their own little battle. Indeed was the 209 car ahead of them.
Yeah, Louis
change. That's the change. That's the change to the lead.
Peebles now in front of Bijoy Garg in a load of traffic. We only caught the tail end of that, but it had been bubbling and looked likely over the next few laps, and finally Peebles is set free by Bijoy Garg. So it was the traffic, it was 2 GT cars, and very late on the brakes goes Peebles. Bijoy Garg just left it too late to show any sort of response. Then the number 75 Proton Competition Porsche was right in the way, not in the way, it needs to go through the corner as well. But an awkward situation for Bijoy Garg.
I have to say that was an excellent overtake from Griffin Peebles. Saw the opportunity, was looking to force the minor error. Sort of rehearsed it in the last lap before, didn't he? pulled the same attempted move, but with the help of traffic managed to get alongside and used the GT car ahead as a bit of a blocker to make good his escape. Cracking stuff. Proper good mixed-class racing.
Away goes Peebles. He kind of had to make that move because the problem is Ian Aguilera is catching at speed, and Aguilera will be straight on the tail of Bijoy Garg, looking to prize that opening as well. Into Europol Competitions car, now down to second.
More interclass battles. This is the 24 and the 10. That is for 7th position. Edward Pearson in the Nielsen Racing car. The white shaded into green at the back with the kind of violet trim. And then the Vector Sport car in the hands of Brian Cullen.
Paul Lancher finding good speed now in what is a heavily or hastily repaired CLX car. Blake McDonald likewise. Unfortunately, his opening race in the European Le Mans Series has not gone to plan, and not through anything that he did wrong. The Corvette is at least still putting laps in and is going more quickly than it's managed to this point in the race. Down the inside goes Giorgio Roda in the Duquesne team, LMP2 ProAm class-leading car. And he's still 4 and a bit seconds clear of PJ Hyatt,
who has cleared Kubish Schmiechowski, who has dropped back another couple of places.
Right. Schmiechowski, yeah, down in 13th position, inexplicably.
I'm sure we're going to hear from Kuba that there's an issue with that car. He had that run off track, didn't he, to turn 1.
Yeah.
And it's not looked right since then.
Seconds that it is here this weekend. There's the 54 Porsche spinning.
Trouble for the high-class car. Is that Dennis Anderson still at the wheel of that car? It is. Dennis at the tail of the field in LMGT3.
So a very good run from Ian Aguilera for 2nd position overall. However, Bijoy Garg has kind of got that covered until this point, though, because Aguilera goes right around the outside at turn number 1, kept it within the track limits as well, and that was more or less a perfect manoeuvre.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. Absolutely perfect. Beautifully done by the Mexican youngster. And Bijoy Garg will be left to rue that moment, but I'm not sure there's much you could do about it. We're hearing it was an incident between the 51 of Davide Rigon on the inside. Don't know.
But that wasn't for position, that was the lap, Dennis Anderson, wasn't it?
They watched this. Is a great angle to watch this. Teed it up, had the better run, up through the outside. Sort of spooked him, I think, off the apex, but he was by. It was a very neat and tidy move there from Ian Aguilera.
The problem for Bijoy is he'd made his one move in the braking area. He'd already committed to the inside line, and that left him as a bit of a sitting duck because Aguilera was so confident. Michael Burke effectively gets a lap deleted there because of track limits. That's fine in isolation, but if he starts to do that too many times, then penalties can start to work their way in. Paul Lafargue still at the wheel of the second of the EDX Sports cars, and they were a little bit close to some contact there. PJ Hyatt and the red-striped EDX Sport car.
This is for position, by the way. This is for 9th place overall, claimed by Paul Lafargue. He's the silver-rated driver. Pulls away now. Previous European Le Mans Series champion, Lafargue Jr. See this again. This was mighty close from Paul Lafargue.
Wasn't necessarily once Paul got beyond the halfway point of PJ Hyatt's car. It was more about front left versus rear right of PJ Hyatt's car, so it's over his shoulder.
Double yellows, by the way, are out, and it's the 54 car.
Again.
And that looks like there's been contact.
Missing, or at least part of the front bumper is now out of alignment.
It was almost an identical moment, wasn't it?
Just again, a little nibble on the rear from Clément Mateur, and then the secondary bit of contact, nose to nose, has done the bulk of the damage. Although the front of that Porsche is highly modular, so they'll be able to take off the front left wing if he can get it back, and the front bumper, and hopefully it hasn't done any damage to anything more serious underneath.
He is moving, so he's got away from the incident site, so he'll, I'm sure, bring that car back in. Side-by-side contact there between Paul Lafargue and an LMP3 car, it looked like. Let's have a look at this again. Oh, it's the Duquesne car. and then an LMP3 car. Questioning here, Johnny, whether or not maybe there might have been some damage here for Giorgio Roda, because he's dropped back. Watch this, this is how it goes. This was the incident between Lafargue and Roda. No, it wasn't. It's a different incident. He ran wide. And that's allowed PJ Hyatt, as he takes the escape road to take advantage, through into the lead of LMP2 ProAm, grabs 9th place. Through 2 goes Edward Pearson. Giorgio Roda down now and into the clutches, it seems, there of Jean Glorieux for 2nd place. So PJ Hyatt to the lead of LMP2 ProAm. Double yellows at turn 5-6. That's the 28 car in trouble. And it's 28 into the gravel, and that, I think, in fact, into the wall by the look of it. There is damage to the front of that car. That's going to require some recovery, and that's going to require some kind of intervention. What happened here? It looks like by himself.
Possibly. Can't see another car. Well, there was a GT car already round the corner, so that wasn't affecting things. 2 GT cars, in fact. It was Duncan Cameron in 55, but he's just totally run out of road there, Paul Lafargue.
We're going to be going to a virtual safety car in about 30 seconds.
I just want to deal with the pit stop for car 37, Ian Aguilera. I don't really understand why that car had to pit so early. That was only an 18-minute stint for Ian Aguilera.
We will deploy virtual safety car in less than 15 seconds.
Here's the virtual safety car, which will
10,
then be a safety car, by the way, at the end of it.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Virtual safety car deployed. VSC, VSC.
It's 18 minutes.
Yeah, there's a bit of a mystery for me, because Aguilera came in at the end of what turned out to, well, it's difficult to tell an exact amount, but he was in at 13 minutes past 1, did a stop for tyres, came back out again, and he's done a 17.5-minute stint. And they've taken Aguilera out of that car and put Adrian Clomenil in, despite Ian's rampant speed. I mean, I can't imagine they thought they were losing time necessarily, unless they feel, hang on a minute, going into the virtual safety car, did everybody stop in time? Yes, it looks like they have done. Virtual safety car, which has provided everybody to press the reset button to a certain degree, then a short safety car, and we go racing again in the opening round of the European Le Mans Series here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, with Gregoire Sauzet and United Autosports number 22 ahead of Bijoy Garg, still on board the Inter-Europol competition car. So he is clearly happy to do the full 2 hours that he needs to complete in one go, if you like, without a break. Now here's the fight for LMP2 Pro-Am, and it's first, second and third together. Oh, no, first and second, with a recovering number 25 car from Algarve Pro in amongst that as well. Dane Cameron looking to go alongside Dorian Pan. So Cameron, we're briefly on board with there in the Spike the Dragon car. Pan to the outside line of the pole sitter in LMGT3. And Abdullah Al-Khalifi still at the wheel of that car, back to the lead, in fact, of LMGT3 now, as the rest of them work their way out of turn 3 and into turn 4. But same look of cars, very different drivers. The order remains the same for the time being, Graham.
Yes, indeed it does. Cracking starts to restart there. Dane Cameron looked for a moment as if he had an idea as to how to get past Dorian Pan, but she had a cracking restart, made it as difficult as she possibly could.
So a couple of pit stops now under investigation. You probably mentioned those already, but again, a long list for the in-tray, and now it is going to be 10 seconds added to the next pit stop for car 29. Now that's been in the list for quite some time about disobeying the instruction from race direction down at turn number 1. That was when Louis Rousset was at the wheel in the previous stint, but it's going to have to be Ollie Gray, 4th position for Forestier Racing by Panis, who have to take that penalty.
It's 2 penalties of 10 seconds each for the 29. And it's a 5-second penalty for the next pit stop to the leading car for pit stop infringement. The second one for car 29 is overtaking off track and lasting advantage. So the 29 car, the Forestier Racing by Panis car, next time down pit lane will have to sit stationary for 20 seconds before the team put hands on the car.
Here's the 59 Aston Martin down the inside of the 51 Ferrari. Now, there was always going to be a point where the 51 Ferrari was going to lose time comparative to its rivals, because Rigon's got out now and Charlie Samani's taken charge of that. So Clément Matte, who stays at the wheel actually.
Yep.
This is now bronze versus bronze again, or for the first time actually for the 51 Ferrari, but Samani couldn't hold the Aston back.
It's an hour and a half Charlie has to do in this car, correct?
It is.
It's going to be a long stint at this stage, going to feel that way to Charlie Samani, because he inevitably later in this race is going to be up against full pros. That's the top 8 all in LMP2. Then we've got the battle in LMP2 ProAm, and Dorian Pan has fended off Dane Cameron and has put 1.4 seconds on that gap. DCAR Engineering's Marlon Hernandez is third, but nearly 6 seconds back.
At a point where some more of the GT cars are choosing to pit, so have we now had the hour and a half? Yes, we have. So that makes complete sense to get Michael Berg out of the 23 McLaren, to get Mike Wainwright out of the 86 Ferrari as well. Clément Matte still at the wheel of the 59 Aston Martin, yes, and has ended up with rear wheels in the gravel.
Never a good thing.
That looked to be at turn 10. It is at turn 10. But how's he ended up there is the next question. Meanwhile, the Dane Cameron car is being rudely assaulted by number 29 with some laps to try and get back. Now, Ollie Gray's, of course, trying to stay in fourth position, and he hasn't yet. There was a penalty, wasn't there, for the 29 car, but I think for the next pit stop.
All
now, Matte all on his own, yeah.
All by himself.
We're back to racing again, folks. You'll be pleased to hear. And 2 hours and 19 minutes still to go this afternoon. Still the threat potentially of a passing shower. United Autosport's Gregoire Sauce is going to be under quite a bit of pressure from Ollie Gray, who was properly on it, heading towards the full course yellow. We sincerely hope all of those overtakes were done and dusted before we went full course yellow. I think they were. Here's Dane Cameron with a good look on to the Inter-Europol competition car ahead.
That's Nick Yellowy now. That's
yes.
The car that was having a bit of a struggle, wasn't it, in the hands of Kuba Shmerkovsky a little earlier.
Start the race from the front row in LMP3. And just again got out in the marbles, really. There was no contact with the car underneath him. Maybe a bit phased by so much traffic flooding through, including several fellow LMP3 runners. Quick Nick. Looking on in EDEX Sport, Nick Manassion.
Indeed.
With a wry smile. I think wasn't too impressed with his two cars taking chunks out of one another in the early stages.
This is Blake McDonald making rapid progress up the order, by the way. He's now up to third place in the Corvette. That was the move on Andrew Gilbert for that third position. He's got 10 seconds to find.
The other really awkward thing would be if Bijoy's only got fuel, for instance, for the next 6 minutes. So I'm going to check that, because he has to go over the 2-hour marker for it to all work. And car 34 started the stint at 20 to 2. It's going to be tight, yes, there were some yellow flag segments in between, but if they have to pit into Europol competition, the 34 car, before we get to 2 hours to go, then Bijoy might have to be stuck in that car for another stint. They can't put Richard de Giras in with more than 2 hours of the race remaining. How much fuel has he got in that number 34 car? And the other issue is he's being pushed perhaps quicker than he wants to go by Jake Hughes.
Yeah, good point. 75 car, by the way, second in LMGT3 in the hands of Matthew Kozajewski. It's another pit stop infringement, and they will get a 5-second penalty. And right now, Blake McDonald is 9 seconds back. So
here's Hughes on the inside line, threading his way between Cameron and, more importantly, Bijoy Garg, who gets a bit of a side-by-side contact from Cameron. Now way off the road, somebody. That is Hughes. So he's got the place, and then he's made a mistake at turn 13, right through the kitty litter, and all that hard work is undone in a very short moment. And I fear now that the rear left might be starting to lose a bit of air. That might have been an optical illusion, but Bijoy Garg had nothing to do with that. In fact, he got a whack by Duncan Cameron for his troubles, but he has got the place back again because of the Hughes mistake.
Looking like the villain in his lair, wasn't he, in that shot? An uber enthusiast, much quicker exit for the final turn for Ollie Gray, and this looks at this stage it's going to be easy. It won't be, but he got a much better line, a much better traction off the exit of turn 14, and he takes the lead of the race. Forestier Racing by Panis lead with 4 minutes to go until the halfway mark.
Esteban Masson, before we cut to him there, sitting on the left of that shot, was absolutely willing Ollie Gray on. They were teammates last year with Charmy Lacey. They were champions in the European Le Mans Series. Actually, there wasn't contact between Cameron and the 34, but then way out wide went the 25 car. But you're concerned about the EDEC sport car.
There was contact between Jake Hughes and the 63 AMG. That's right. What fired him off.
Of Alexander Bukantsov, two together here at turn 12.
It's the Vector Sport car and the 74 of Andrew Gilbert. That's what caused the issue. So that is the Pro-Am car. Jim Bullock-Basie, it was involved with Andrew Gilbert. That will surely be looked at.
For Felix, that was a big hit though from the EDEC Sport car. Now in different hands from Paul Lafargue, I think, on the Spike the Dragon AO by TF car.
Is that the 28? That was a big hit.
Well, it certainly was.
It looked.
But let's concentrate on the restart now. Alex Udell might well be in that Corvette now, actually, car 33. He is, and running in third position. So back to racing action after another virtual safety car, which provided an opportunity for everyone to make a pit stop. Then the safety car, plus the pass around, and Forestier Racing by Panis, Ollie Gray, leading by half a second. But remember, at some point during a future pit stop, well, the next pit stop on the green, that car will have to sit for a further 20 seconds. And the Dane Cameron...
No, not Dane anymore.
Is it not Dane? OK.
That is Louis Delatraz.
You're right.
He was indicating that he was ahead of...
I'm in first.
I'm in first.
Yeah, I thought it might be Dane, only because was that the 99 passing the 28?
Yes,
it was actually Delatraz passing Paul-Luc Chatin.
Yes,
and as a team collective, I don't think we can be any doubt as to what that Louis Delatraz thinks of Paul-Luc Chatin's driving.
You're number one, he was definitely saying there in my books.
OK, well, it won't be forgotten, but Delatraz might feel a bit better about that little outburst, and he has got in front, but of course there are laps between those cars, so it's not reflected as such on the timing screen. Go on.
Very busy amongst this group with Antonio Fuoco there clattering across the curbs. Car 14 will get a 5-second penalty added to the next pit stop for unsafe release. Car 14 is the second place car in LMP2 Pro-Am. That could have an effect here. Side by side, that's AO by TF with the TDS Racing car. Got life in it this race still, 92 minutes to go. Here is the battle for LMP3. What are we going to look at here? That was side by side between AF Corsa and the 88 Proton, the AF Corsa car going through. There's another penalty coming, this time for car 77 out of the top 10 for Huub van Eindhoven. And that's trouble for the number 3 car. That's DK Engineering. That car is off in the hands of Marlon Fernandez. Car 4 under investigation, wearing jewellery.
Are they making these race direction messages up now? Obviously they're not, because of what you were telling us about Michael Jensen earlier on at Abu Dhabi having a huge accident, and you think breaking his thumb because he was wearing a ring.
Yes.
That again is potentially early.
That's damage to the rear as well for that car. That's Alex Udell. And, well, is that evidential? Let's have a look here.
Max Janssen.
Oh, it was. Oh, no, sorry, Max. And it was a double hit, wasn't it? Because he's got damage at the front of that car. There was a separate hit against the front of the Corvette. That's not gone well. That was too much of a lunge, way too late.
The problem is that as the Corvette slid off, it tagged the back of the 74. I heard the gravel, and the Ferraris got lumped up into that. That is Romain Larue in number 74. He was desperately trying to avoid the situation. As the Corvette backed up after the initial contact, it's tagged the Ferrari and ditched that into the gravel, and that's the more pressing issue now for Eduardo Freitas and the rest of his team. At least the 86 Ferrari has made its way back, despite smoking heavily for Max Janssen, the instigator, I would suggest, of all of that. Still, at times, weaving around just to generate a bit of tyre heat again, going through yet another heat cycle. So this is where the lead change happened in LMP2 ProAm, right around the outside of turn 12. Dorian Pan, in fairness, gave Jakobsen racing room without making it easy for him.
Trouble here for the 54 car. 20 seconds still to add to that time. And there's more front damage to that 54. Who's in the car at the moment? That would be Dennis Anderson back in the car.
That's interesting. The 86 Ferrari and the 33 Corvette, we are now hearing from Steph, are officially retired from the race, and that is not a huge surprise, frankly. The 86 car looked to be far too badly damaged with its steering after an over-ambitious manoeuvre from Max Janssen in the braking area for turn 10, clattering into the side of the Corvette, which is also now out of the race. What a real shame for Blake McDonald and Alec Udell. The drone pilots have been supplying us terrific footage throughout the course of the weekend. Now, the front bumper again has been unleashed from car 54. I'm not convinced that was the original bumper anyway for Dennis Anderson.
Well, that car had a black and orange flag. I don't think race control are going to be very happy with that. Full course yellow is going to come as a result of that. I would not be surprised if there was a hefty penalty coming the way of the 54. We did have a black and orange flag for that car a couple of laps ago, and now it's disassembled itself, unfortunately, onto the racing surface. There you go. So full course yellow.
Yes. Well, you can...
Well, we've gone back to green, and that car's not yet in. If that bit of bodywork comes off, we'd be going straight back to a full course yellow. Just to show the cables are pretty good on these things, because it's still showing the front light.
Yeah, I was going to say the headlight's still on, so
almost there,
slotting back into position. It really is modular if it finds its way back over that wheel. Yeah, boomf, like a transformer. Wide for car 5, yes indeed it is, right through the gravel for the Rinaldi Racing car of Alvise Rodella.
An aero wash maybe from the P2 car that swept it wide, but we're beginning to get to the stage where we can start to call where this is going to be, and it's going to come down to what's left in the tank and what's left on each corner of these leading runners. Into Europol competitions, 34 car Richard de Geras looking in good shape here, it has to be said.
And thankfully for Garnett, didn't need to open the door, but this might be the opportunity now as Jobert goes the other side. No, he couldn't get through to around the outside of the number 18 EDEC Sport car. I thought that might be the answer. And who's this arriving on the scene? Well, not on the lead lap for Harry King, but nevertheless this might provide a distraction as well, because King and the car guy Ferrari are side by side here. King wanting his lap back again, and Garnett Patterson might be very, very grateful here, as right over the curb there went the 57 car of Mathis Jobert. Got to be showing to not take a lasting advantage after doing that. Jobert chucks up a load of dust into the face of any pursuing cars, as now Harry King is applying pressure to Garnett Patterson, who might be wise just to allow the British driver to go as we enjoy this.
So 11.4 seconds the gap to Jack Doohan. Jack Doohan's rather to Ben Hanley, and then half a second to this pair. Side by side here, though, an LMP3. This is the battle for second place. Hugo Schwarzer under attack from Max van der Snel. And up the inside, Esteban Masson looking to get the move done on Ben Hanley. Hanley's having none of that. He's managed to box up the Forestier Racing man behind the LMP3 briefly, but who's got a better run off the corner here, Johnny?
Just about the 22 car of Hanley. I was busy looking up whether there'd been anything regarding a potential unsafe release, and it's good news for United Autosports fans at the moment that doesn't seem to have been a worry for those within race control. They did, by the way, have to serve a 5-second penalty in the last pit stop for car 22, so it took a bit longer than, for instance, the Nielsen Racing gang or Forestier Racing by Panis, and therefore tyre management not just when you're in the car driving, but from a team strategist point of view, tyre management is so important. Now getting a bit of an overlap on Ben Hanley is the green and black car of Forestier Racing by Panis, and he gets the position, Esteban Masson. There was a squeeze from Ben Hanley, but it was all a bit too late. 2 wheels on the grass, actually, from Masson, but you weren't going to hold him back.
So that is a decisive move. It's recovered all that time lost with the pit stop penalty.
Second place then for Esteban Masson. Now the gap sits at 13.7 seconds.
Remember, they will need a splash of fuel,
because their stints began at 15.25, let's call it. The race due at the moment to finish about 25 past, half past 4. We are running late because of a 25-minute red flag. Grimaces turning to big smiles and punches of the air for the Forestier Racing by Panis fans, supporters. All 3 classes represented in this little segment of cars, piling their way into turn number 5. Not quite all 4 categories, but all of the 3 different types of car, if you like, LMP2, LMP3 and LMGT3. And the first of them is the 24 car, the race leader, Jack Doohan.
Bottled up a little behind the LMP3. That was a great move from Tom Sargent. Saw that a long way out, didn't he?
Well, there must have been an inside line, yes, provided by the LMP3 look. So the LMP3 just gave a bit of a shove, I think, to Christodoulou's Mercedes, which inched it very slightly wide, and Tom Sargent was right there to plug the hole, plug the gap, and Christodoulou then couldn't get out from behind the LMP3 in order to defend. So a brilliant bit of traffic management there from Tom Sargent and the Proton competition car.
Car 24, oh, a disaster for Nielsen Racing. It's 10 seconds added to the next pit stop, full course yellow infringement. That's Jack Doohan. And car 25, the same penalty. That car a little further back, Tristan Vautier aboard that car at the moment.
So that's a horror show.
That's basically cost them a chance of the win.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they won't serve that penalty in race.
Nope.
It'll get added on once Alcomel see all of these cars home.
Well, effectively what that means at this stage of the race, in virtual terms, is Jack Doohan is actually behind Esteban Masson.
Yes.
Not ahead of. So he's going to need to push hard now to extend that gap. He is still going quicker than Masson. It looks like it's doable to get it over 10 seconds, but that's exactly what he did not need. And now, as we start to see the timing screen light up with green sectors from Masson, it's the indication that those tyres that he's had fitted to that car are up to temp, and that is going to make life very difficult indeed.
It's going to be, no, it's not going to be as tight as I thought it might with Malte Jakobsen. He will need to stop again. That was the 14 TDS car,
but that was
on-lapping itself.
Yeah, that was, I'm sorry, clumsy.
Over the line they go, more or less together though. You can throw a blanket over all 3 of these, and they've all pitted at different times, but because of the less amount of fuel that needed to go into the Ben Hanley car, he's in a slightly stronger position. Which one did they do tyres on? Was that the 29?
29
the left side tyres.
Yeah.
So maybe Masson's going to have a bit more up his sleeve in that case, as we've got 14 more minutes to go. Richard de Giras on paper looks to have a huge advantage, but that will be whittled away very shortly when the 34 car comes into pit lane. It's not bad, this, is it? To have, frankly, this is the fight for the race lead, ultimately. It should be. I know we've had a stop-start affair with loads of safety cars and full-course yellows, but nevertheless. Now, Christodoulou down the inside of Garnet Patterson. So Patterson had got ahead of Christodoulou, which I think I'd missed. Well, where's he going to feed in, the rejoining Richard de Giras? He's already gone out.
Here they are.
So it'll be the same set of tyres, no question. They're already up to temperature. De Giras needs to be cautious of these 2, though, around the outside. And De Giras is still in front. So what can Ben Hanley, Jack Doohan and Esteban Masson do about reeling in that race leader? Now car 30's under investigation. That's not one. It was one duking it out for a podium not too long ago. The Duquesne car of Richard Vauchur, and that's for a full course yellow infringement. But they are high-fiving throughout the Inter-Europol competition crew, because this two-driver lineup to this point is working a treat. I did have that in my mind to tell you, actually, that Malta shouldn't be able to make the finish, and so it has been. So it has proved.
I would guess the same is the case for the other cars around him, and that was Hanley wide, doing alongside him. I think he might retain it there, but look at Masson behind. Oh, big hit to the right rear there of Doohan, and Masson just let them get on with it. He's through. Doohan up into third. Hanley goes from second to fourth. That was Hanley running wide, trying to recover it, and a slap to the rear of the Nielsen Racing car. But now it's all about Esteban Masson trying to catch Richard de Geras, and the gap with 11 minutes to go is 2.6 seconds.
Well, there was a bit of a question mark over Ben Hanley going into turn 10 a lap ago, was it, when I was talking about it?
Again.
I know it's after 10. But then he couldn't get the car turned in at turn 12, so ran a little bit wide. Doohan's already on his outside, and with Doohan taking up that real estate, yeah, it was Hanley running deep into turn 10, and I was debating it amongst myself whether that was a long brake pedal or whether he'd been deliberately doing that to fire his car out. But the problem is when you've got two on your backside, as he did there.
9 minutes to go, and up the inside here of the Inter-Europol car. I think he's got it done. He has. Just noting damage, by the way, to the front right of the Inter-Europol car. Yeah, well, from heroes to no.
From heroes to no. And that's all tyres for me. I mean, Masson is a whiz kid, as we saw on many occasions last year too. But Esteban Masson with the bit between his teeth. Richard de Geras, as he proved in qualifying yesterday, is certainly no slouch. So 1 minute and 45 it should have been. They've cut it very, very narrow indeed. It might only be a thousandth of a second under, but that's enough. And Max van der Snel, thinking he might finish on the podium with his co-drivers in number 11, Matthew Richard Bell and Doe de Decker, could be about to kiss goodbye to a podium.
This is the battle for second, and it's gone the way of Jack Doohan.
So how did he get through there? Right round the outside of turn 13.
Cracking stuff.
Into the deep compression at turns 7 and 8. Just using that sausage curb to bounce the car back into line, a bit like a Swedish snowbank. And through the right-hand kink at 9, they're going to be monstered now by Ben Hanley in the number 22 United Autosports car. And this might be an opportunity for Serra to the outside line at turn 10. If he can stay there, which he can't, but that, well,
I think he's got it. I think he's got it.
Yeah, inside line then for turn 12 as the track switches from one side to the other, and he will be able to force himself ahead of the AMG, not for the first time. And Adam Christodoulou can't cut back into line because of the number 19 Rossa Racing by Virage P2 ProAm car for Manuel Espirito.
He's got to be careful here because he's got Ricky Agostini right with him now as well for the next place down. So another Ferrari ready to do battle on what should be, where are we with the overall leader?
Just heading into turn 4 now.
Penultimate lap.
So 1 minute and 20 left. And well, it remains to be seen whether it's this lap and one more or two more. But yeah, you'll reckon it's the penultimate lap. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Down into 7 and 8. And with 1 minute to go, there will be less than a lap time left on the clock. And hang on a minute, is Jack Doohan out of fuel, or is there an issue? No, it's a tyre, I think. It's the rear right tyre that's going down, or is the wheel coming off the car? But whatever the issue, it's suspension failure.
Is that where the hit came with? That's where the hit came from the United car earlier.
So Jack Doohan and Nielsen Racing have lost third position already to Ben Hanley. Knew it couldn't be fuel, even though I was throwing that question out there, because we'd called them all through the fuel window. But all of a sudden that car is steering from 3 of its corners, and Jack Doohan is going to have to hustle that car well, as delicately as possible to the pit lane. I fear there's not going to be much that Nielsen Racing can do about that, though. And finally, the suspension has given up after a hit a long time ago. Here's the 29 car, Esteban Masson, and this indeed is called as the final lap in LMP2. LMP2 ProAm being led again by Malte Jakobsen, as everybody behind him had to make their equivalent pit stop. So Algarve Pro Racing cycled back to the front in Pro-Am. LMP3 being led by Rinaldi Racing with currently Mikael Garde-Pedersen, car number 5. And this is already when the suspension had given up the ghost for Jack Doohan.
Yeah, clearly gone. It was, I think, that corner that was hit in that exchange with Ben Hanley. What was that, 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, okay, it wasn't that long ago, was it? But when he was out in the gravel out of turn 12, yes.
Esteban Masson leads now by 12 seconds. Last lap, Everesha Degeris. Ben Hanley now in 3rd place.
So it's either suspension or an upright. I don't think the tyre was losing air, but with that wheel at a peculiar angle, Jack Doohan is, well, still circulating. They want a result, of course, but it's not going to be as good as Forestier Racing by Panis, who were champions in 2025 under a different guise, but they come back with a new partnership, and it's like they've never been away, taking the first victory in the 2026 season here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Forestier Racing by Panis for Esteban Masson and his co-drivers Louis Rousset, who's new to the team, and Oliver Gray. Meanwhile, winners in LMP3, Rinaldi Racing in car number 5 for Jose Fernandez Cautela, Alvisa Rodela and Mikael Garde-Pedersen. GT's home and hosed as well. Tom Sargent in car 75, sharing that car with Richard Lietz, and the man that started, Matt Kurzajewski, with an excellent stint. He was getting the elbows out, plenty of overtaking for the American to do in the early stages. And here is the final of the 4 categories, which is a few corners yet from home, Graham, but Algarve Pro Racing know how to win LMP2 Pro-Am races.
They most certainly do. It's been a stellar way forward for them this season. Enzo Trulli with Malte Jakobsen, and also in the 20 car course starting this race. As Michael Jensen comes back from a little bit of injury at the end of a spectacular end to the Asia Le Mans series for Michael, but he'll be delighted with this race win in LMP2 Pro-Am.
Terrific. So all 4 of those winners provisionally confirmed, as in they cross the line, they see the checkered flag, and Jack Doohan did make the finish. I'm just trying to work out precisely where now. He's down in 7th position.
Yes.
Now Alcamel incorporate all of the various sitting penalties, and that will take Euro International off the podium in their number 11 car for Max van der Snel, and instead promote car number 13, who have been through the mill this weekend, the Inter-Europol competition car, having qualified in 2nd. Then the officials deemed their front splitter was not legal, so they were put to the back of the grid, and Henry Cabides, Shou Chunting and Alexander Bukantsov finish in 3rd position. And as the podium presentations are slowly being organised there, we've got to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, of course, as per the provisional results. Then Forestier Racing by Panis win it after 135 laps. A gap of 13 seconds or so over Inter-Europol competitions effort number 34. They took pole position with just the 2-driver lineup, and Ben Hanley, United Autosports number 22, finishing in 3rd with Griffin Peebles and Gregoire Saucy. Then in Pro-Am, Algarve Pro Racing, as mentioned, the number 20 car had to make a late pit stop, but thankfully all around them did so as well. So that cycled the number 20 car to the top of the shop again with Michael Jensen and Enzo Trulli. The win in LMP3, Rinaldi Racing in car number 5, and LMGT3 take the win with Proton Competition. Well, Ollie Gray had put his cap on, the Goodyear cap, in readiness to properly celebrate, and now he can, and Esteban Masson as well wanted the full version, I'm sure. He and Louis Rousset, the Frenchman, and Ollie Gray of the UK. But Ollie Gray moving from silver to gold rating for this year, so there needed to be a tweak in the driver lineup. And I have to say, Louis Rousset has slotted in perfectly.
Trophies being presented by Matthias Kipp, the head of Goodyear Racing. And I think generally smiles on this podium. I think everybody's fairly happy with their day here. Unlucky not to be there, I think, Nielsen Racing. They will be gutted about the way their race ended. And I have to say, the pace of Jack Doohan at the end of this race was an eye-opener. Didn't think he got his head around these cars during the days leading up to this, but boy did he show that when the race started, he's got it. That's one to watch for the remainder of this season, for sure.